Heartmouth Sean, 6 reasons to never have a girlfriend after 50. At 50, life has already tested you. You faced loss, disappointment, triumphs, and quiet victories. You've learned the subtle truths that only time can teach, the things no advice book or younger friend could ever prepare you for. And now the idea of jumping into a romantic relationship, especially one that demands your energy, compromises your freedom, or challenges the peace you fought so hard to preserve, may feel tempting, but also dangerous. Because at this stage, love is no longer about discovery or excitement. It's about choices, priorities, and the wisdom of knowing what truly nourishes your life. Many men chase companionship in their 50s, thinking it will bring happiness, fill the silence, or revive a lost youth. But often it brings stress, unnecessary drama, or the subtle erosion of your independence. There's a quiet, profound power in embracing life as it is. Your routines, your solitude, your carefully built world, freedom, self-respect, and clarity become far more valuable than fleeting passion. The truth is, after 50, relationships can be different. They're no longer about saving or being saved. They're about navigating life with someone who respects your time, space, and hard-earned calm. This video isn't about fear or cynicism. It's about clarity, wisdom, and choice. Here, we explore 6 reasons why some men find themselves better off alone after 50, not lonely, not incomplete, but fully alive, disciplined, and at peace with the rhythm of their own lives. By the end, you may realize that happiness isn't always found in another person. Sometimes it's discovered in the quiet mastery of yourself. At 50, freedom is no longer an abstract idea. It is a tangible, almost sacred commodity. After decades of responsibilities, raising a family, building a career, discover more video player integration cooking fats and oils CP us, paying bills, and navigating other people's expectations, you finally reach a point where you can wake up and choose your own rhythm without needing permission or approval. And this is why the idea of entering a romantic relationship can feel more like a chain than a gift. Think about it. Relationships, even the healthiest ones, carry obligations. There are expectations, emotional, social, and sometimes even financial. You're asked to accommodate moods, compromise routines, and juggle 2 sets of needs. In your 20s or 30s, this might feel exciting, a challenge worth embracing. But at 50, every hour and every ounce of energy feels precious. You've already lived enough to know that your time is finite, and the cost of surrendering autonomy is often invisible until it's too late. Freedom at this stage isn't just about doing what you want, it's about being fully responsible for your own life without distraction. It's the quiet power of making decisions based solely on your priorities, not someone else's desires. Want to travel midweek? You can. Want to dedicate your mornings to reading, meditation, or a hobby you've long neglected? You can. Want to simply sit in silence thinking or doing nothing without guilt? You absolutely can. This is freedom most people only dream about in youth. But at 50, it is earned and fragile. Consider the story of James, a friend who spent decades in a demanding marriage. By the time he reached his 50s, he had finally carved out a life that brought him peace, a morning routine of quiet reflection, afternoons spent painting, evenings walking along the river. When he began dating again, he quickly realized the intrusion. The very routines that nurtured his soul became points of negotiation and compromise. The more he gave, the less he felt like himself. Eventually, he chose solitude, and the relief was immediate. Freedom, he realized, wasn't a lonely absence of love. It was the presence of clarity, choice, and self-respect. Stoicism teaches us that true power lies in mastery over ourselves and our circumstances. No external force should dictate the contentment of your inner life. Relationships are beautiful, but they are external. They demand negotiation, adaptation, and sometimes sacrifice. If your internal world, the habits, routines, and disciplines you've built requires preservation, then stepping back from romantic entanglements is not defeat. It is wisdom. It is choosing your life over someone else's expectations, choosing depth over distraction. At 50, freedom is not selfish. It is survival of your most authentic self. By embracing solitude, you honor the decades of growth, learning, and discipline that brought you here. You can love, care, and connect, but on your terms without obligations that compromise the peace you fought so hard to create. By the time a man reaches 50, life has a way of teaching what truly matters and what simply isn't worth the energy. One of the harshest lessons is that drama is a luxury the mature mind can no longer afford. In youth, we tolerate chaos, emotional turbulence, and unpredictable relationships because we're still learning, still searching. But after 50, every ounce of emotional energy is precious. Every moment of calm is sacred. The last thing a seasoned man needs is the whirlwind of romantic drama disrupting the hard-won balance of his life. Drama comes in many forms: unspoken expectations, sudden arguments, jealousy, misunderstandings, and the emotional roller coaster that often accompanies romantic entanglements. In your 20s, it might have been thrilling, a spark of intensity that felt like passion. But in your 50s, drama rarely feels exciting. It feels exhausting. You've already spent decades managing work stress, family obligations, and social pressures. Now your mind and body crave stability, not chaos. Take, for instance, Robert, a widower in his early 50s. After losing his spouse, he cautiously considered dating again. At first, the idea of companionship seemed appealing, even comforting, but he quickly discovered the subtle ways drama crept into his life. Arguments over trivial matters, misaligned expectations, and emotional highs and lows drained him rather than uplifted him. Every disagreement chipped away at the quiet peace he had painstakingly rebuilt. Eventually, he realized that the calm and stability of solitude was far more nourishing than the fleeting highs of romantic conflict. Stoicism offers a profound lens here. It teaches that we cannot control others, only our responses. Drama is a force outside our control, an unpredictable variable that can disrupt the serenity of our internal world. After 50, life is too short to surrender your mental equilibrium to constant emotional turbulence. Choosing solitude, or at least extreme discernment in relationships, is not avoidance. It is protection. It is saying, I will not allow unnecessary chaos to steal the peace I've worked so hard to cultivate. Drama also has a subtle cost that many overlook. It diminishes your capacity for joy. Emotional energy spent in frustration, anxiety, or resentment is energy taken away from hobbies, passions, friendships, and personal growth. Every argument, every tension-filled conversation, and every moment of worry about someone else's mood erodes your freedom to live fully at 50. That freedom is sacred, a rare and valuable treasure that should not be lightly exchanged. Ultimately, understanding the weight of drama is about understanding the value of yourself, your peace, your routines, your clarity, and your ability to face each day with composure. These are worth more than fleeting companionship or momentary excitement. Romantic relationships can be fulfilling, yes, but only when they amplify your life rather than complicate it. And after 50, the threshold for drama tolerance is low. You've lived enough to know that serenity is priceless, and no relationship is worth compromising the calm, thoughtful, and disciplined life you've built. By 50, most men have already felt the pull of life's responsibilities, the daily grind, family obligations, and career pressures. For decades, these duties shaped identity, dictated priorities, and demanded attention. And now, finally, there comes a rare and precious opportunity, the chance to focus not on what life demands of you, but on what you truly desire. Purpose and passion, long deferred or neglected, become central to your well-being. And this is precisely why romantic relationships at this stage can be tricky. They often demand energy, compromise, and time that could otherwise be invested in your personal growth and fulfillment. Think about it. A relationship is like a garden. It requires attention, care, and resources, but so does your own life, your health, your hobbies, your dreams, your craft. At 50, there is little room for divided attention. If a romantic partner's needs pull you away from your creative pursuits, your physical health, or your deeper passions, the cost becomes real. The excitement of companionship cannot outweigh the long-term satisfaction of a life lived with purpose. Consider the story of Daniel, a man who spent decades climbing the corporate ladder. By 52, he had achieved financial stability, but realized that his true passion lay in music, something he had abandoned in his youth. When he started dating again, the subtle pressures of compromise, scheduling, and shared expectations began to encroach on his practice and performances. Slowly, he understood a truth many men his age learn. Nurturing your own purpose first allows you to contribute fully to the world. And if a relationship is worth it, it will respect that. Stoic philosophy offers guidance here. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that time is short and our attention is the most precious currency we have. Every moment squandered in distractions, conflicts, or obligations that do not serve your higher purpose is a moment lost forever. At 50, the clarity of this insight becomes profound. Snorts. You cannot afford to invest your life in pursuits or people that do not align with your values, your goals, or the passions that give your days meaning. Prioritizing purpose is not selfish. It is disciplined. It is the act of protecting the life you've built and the vision you still carry. When you invest time in your passions, you nurture your identity, deepen your joy, and cultivate resilience. And in this space of self-fulfillment, relationships, if they happen, become a complement to your life, not a distraction from it. You become magnetic, not because you seek validation, but because you are fully engaged in the work of your own life. After 50, the choice is clear. Embrace romance at the expense of your purpose, or embrace your passions and allow life and perhaps companionship to flow naturally around them. For those who choose the latter, life becomes richer, fuller, and deeply satisfying. Freedom, peace, and passion converge, reminding you that your time is your own, and that the truest form of fulfillment comes from living fully, authentically, and on your own terms. Part 2. By the time a man reaches 50, he has lived enough to understand that emotions, like the weather, are often unpredictable. Joy, anger, frustration, and disappointment come and go, sometimes without warning. And one of the most valuable lessons that comes with age is this: your happiness should not be tethered to another person's moods, validation, or presence. Emotional independence, the ability to remain centered, composed, and content, regardless of external circumstances, is not just a skill, it is a cornerstone of a peaceful life. Romantic relationships, even the healthiest ones, inherently create emotional interdependence. You invest in someone else's happiness, anticipate their reactions, and often internalize their moods as if they were your own. In youth, this might feel natural or even exciting, but after 50, the emotional cost becomes starkly visible. Every disappointment, miscommunication, or unmet expectation carries a weight that chips away at your serenity. Maintaining emotional independence is about recognizing this reality and choosing a life where your inner peace is not negotiable. Take the example of Mark, a man in his early 50s, who had spent years devoted to his career and raising children. When he started dating again, he found himself unconsciously reacting to his partner's every emotional wave. Her irritations became his stress. Her sadness became his anxiety. It was exhausting, draining, and ultimately unsustainable. Over time, Mark realized that emotional independence wasn't isolation. It was a form of self-respect. By cultivating his own sense of contentment and stability, he could engage with others without losing himself in their emotional tides. Stoic wisdom reinforces this principle. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Emotional independence is exactly this: understanding that external events or even other people's feelings do not dictate your inner state. You cultivate resilience, clarity, and a consistent sense of self, regardless of external chaos. This does not mean suppressing emotions. It means feeling them fully without being enslaved by them. At 50, emotional independence becomes even more critical because life has less margin for emotional waste. Energy once spent on unnecessary stress or dependency can instead be invested in passions, meaningful connections, and personal growth. You begin to understand that true fulfillment arises not from the validation of others, but from mastery over your own emotional landscape. Choosing solitude or carefully curated companionship after 50 is often not about avoidance. It is about preservation. By nurturing emotional independence, you safeguard the life you've built, the routines you cherish, and the peace you've earned. You can still love, connect, and empathize, but on your own terms without surrendering the core of who you are to someone else's whims. Emotional independence is not loneliness, it is strength. It is the quiet confidence of a man who knows that his joy, stability, and self-worth reside within him. After 50, this kind of inner sovereignty is invaluable, guiding every choice, relationship, and interaction. And when you live from this place of emotional autonomy, life becomes less about dependency and more about freedom, clarity, and true connection. Connection that enhances, rather than diminishes, your soul. By the time a man reaches 50, life has a way of crystallizing what truly matters: freedom, security, and a sense of order. Decades of work, discipline, and careful planning often result in routines, habits, and financial structures that reflect the life he has deliberately built. Every decision, every dollar, and every hour is carefully calibrated to support comfort, independence, and long-term goals. And at this stage, a romantic relationship, while potentially fulfilling in other ways, can unintentionally disrupt the balance that took decades to achieve. Consider finances first. In your 20s and 30s, money may feel like a tool or a worry, something to build, to save, or to spend on experiences. By 50, it often represents freedom, the ability to live without compromise, to travel, pursue passions, or invest in yourself without interference. Romantic relationships, however, introduce new variables: shared expenses, lifestyle compromises, and conflicting financial priorities can quietly erode the independence you've worked so hard to cultivate. Even subtle pressures, dinners out, vacations, gifts, can accumulate into a constant negotiation of resources and values. Maintaining clarity around finances is not selfish, it is self-preservation. Lifestyle, too, becomes a sacred domain. By 50, routines are no longer trivial. They are lifelines. Your morning rituals, exercise habits, dietary preferences, and daily schedules are finely tuned to sustain energy, health, and mental clarity. Enter a romantic relationship, and these routines may face constant disruption, unexpected plans, compromises on habits, or the subtle erosion of personal boundaries. Life at this stage is no longer about experimentation. It is about consistency and integrity. Preserving this stability is a form of respect for yourself and the decades of discipline that brought you here. Take the story of Samuel, a man in his early 50s who had meticulously built a life of simplicity and order. His home reflected calm, his finances allowed freedom, and his daily schedule honored his passions. When he began dating again, he quickly realized that the compromises, both financial and lifestyle-based, began to chip away at the structure that gave him confidence and joy. Every alteration, no matter how small, created friction in a life that had previously flowed with intention. Samuel learned a crucial truth: not every relationship fits into a life carefully curated for independence, peace, and growth. Stoic philosophy offers insight here. It reminds us that external circumstances, people, wealth, or possessions should never dictate the quality of our inner life. Protecting your financial and lifestyle clarity is not about isolation. It is about safeguarding the freedom to live intentionally. By prioritizing autonomy, you maintain control over your decisions, your environment, and your daily energy. After 50, the lesson is clear. Every choice should reinforce the life you value, not complicate it. Relationships can enhance life, but only if they align with your principles, your routines, and your financial priorities. Otherwise, they risk eroding what took decades to build: security, clarity, and a sense of autonomy. In this stage of life, The most profound freedom is the ability to live exactly as you choose, without compromise, without unnecessary complexity, and without regret. Financial and lifestyle clarity is not about avoiding connection. It is about respecting the life you've built and the wisdom you've earned. After 50, that clarity is priceless. A foundation for peace, fulfillment, and intentional living upon which every meaningful choice, relationship, and passion can stand firmly. By 50, most men have already experienced the highs and lows of romantic relationships. They've felt the thrill of new love, the comfort of companionship, and perhaps the sting of loss or disappointment. And at this stage, something remarkable happens. The way we view human connection shifts. Companionship is no longer about possession, passion, or validation. It is about shared respect, mutual enrichment, and connection that complements life rather than complicates it. After 50, companionship can take many forms beyond romance. Friendships, family bonds, mentorship, community involvement, and shared hobbies often provide deeper, more enduring fulfillment than the highs and lows of dating. These connections are chosen, not demanded. They are supportive, not draining. They honor your routines, your freedom, and your emotional independence. They offer connection without compromise, joy without chaos, and presence without obligation. Consider Henry, a man in his mid-50s who had spent years chasing romantic relationships that ultimately left him exhausted. Slowly, he began investing in friendships, volunteer work, and shared passions with peers who shared his values and energy. Over time, he realized he felt more connected, alive, and appreciated than he had in decades of dating. Companionship, he discovered, is not confined to romance. It is found in those who respect your boundaries, share your interests, and contribute positively to your life. This redefinition of companionship also aligns with Stoic thought. The Stoics remind us that true fulfillment comes from virtue, wisdom, and meaningful action. People are not our sources of happiness. They are companions along the journey. After 50, this insight becomes crucial. You can enjoy deep connection without surrendering your peace, freedom, or priorities. You can love deeply and fully, but in ways that honor your life as it exists today, rather than in ways that demand you reinvent yourself to meet someone else's needs. Romantic relationships may still have a place, but only when they enhance rather than disrupt your life. They should feel like a choice, not a requirement. After 50, you can define companionship on your terms: connection that elevates your daily life, laughter that enriches your spirit, and presence that complements your independence. You no longer need to fit into a relationship to feel complete. You are already whole. Ultimately, companionship after 50 is about quality over quantity, depth over intensity, and intentional presence over obligation. It is about choosing to surround yourself with people who inspire, support, and respect you. By embracing this approach, life becomes richer, more peaceful, and profoundly satisfying. You realize that love and connection are not confined to romance. They are everywhere in shared experiences, mutual respect, and the quiet understanding that you do not need to sacrifice your freedom to feel truly connected. Redefining companionship is not settling. It is wisdom. It is understanding that life after 50 is not about chasing fleeting excitement, but about cultivating lasting joy, meaningful bonds, and authentic presence. And when you do, you discover something extraordinary: the richness of human connection without the cost of losing yourself. Conclusion: by the time a man reaches 50, life has a way of revealing its deepest truths. Freedom is precious, peace is priceless, and clarity is hard-earned. Romantic relationships, while beautiful in their own way, often come with compromises, obligations, and emotional turbulence that can quietly erode the independence, routines, and serenity you've spent decades building. Choosing solitude or carefully curated companionship is not about loneliness or fear. It is about wisdom, self-respect, and intentional living. The lessons we've explored: valuing freedom, avoiding unnecessary drama, prioritizing purpose and passion, cultivating emotional independence, protecting financial and lifestyle clarity, and redefining companionship, are not about rejecting love. They are about understanding that life after 50 offers a unique opportunity, the chance to live fully on your own terms. True fulfillment comes from mastering your inner world, investing in what genuinely matters, and connecting with others in ways that enrich rather than complicate your life. At this stage, happiness is not something to be found outside of yourself. It is cultivated within. The relationships, connections, and passions you choose should amplify your life, not diminish it. By embracing this philosophy, you step into a life that is rich, intentional, and deeply satisfying, where companionship becomes a choice, freedom becomes a priority, and peace becomes your constant companion. If this video resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own life. Which habits, relationships, or commitments are enhancing your journey, and which are quietly pulling you away from it? Embrace clarity, protect your freedom, prioritize your purpose. If these insights change the way you view the path of a man after 50, please subscribe and like the channel. We are uncovering the history and wisdom that they tried to bury. Plant the seeds of your future. The next treasure will be revealed soon.